up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cinema Royale. In an episode where I think I actually got our intro flow correctly.
What?
We've got it fading in and fading out. I shit you not, fading in and fading out. And it didn't run for a whole long time when there was no animation going. So that is a hell of a way to start off the show. Travis, what's up? We are the Punch Drunk Critics. See, I screwed it up. Damn it. I knew I was going to do something like that. That's why I just let you do the intro part.
I would if I could hear the intro music coming.
With the new one that we have where it plays with the animation, I can't even hear it, so I'm just watching the levels going.
All right. Yeah, we are the Punch Drunk Critics. I am Travis Hobson. That is John Nolan. We are film critics here out of the DC area. And Cinema Royale is our podcast. This week we're talking. Last week was mostly we kept the reviews kind of low. This week it's mostly all reviews. We're talking about Coming to America, which, like I said, I think we've talked about it before in the past. One of those movies, kind of like Bad Boys 3, where all of my, casual movie-going fans have said this movie was coming for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And it never was until about 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they all pointed at me and said, see, we were right. And I'm like, you're wrong for 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of those kind of movies. We're also talking about Chaos Walking, of one of those movies that has one of those chaotic productions
Mm-hmm.
that we love to talk about, and that's Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland. We're going to talk about that. We're also talking about Raya and the Last Dragon, which is Disney's latest on Disney Premier Access, sort of like Mulan,
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago. And Boss Level, which is a new film from Joe Carnahan with Frank Grillo and Mel Gibson. So those are the movies we're talking about. And if we have time, I want to talk a little bit about the released plans for Zack Snyder's Justice League that he would have done if he was going to be doing them, which I don't think he will.
Right. Well, don't forget WandaVision. We've been heavy on WandaVision throughout the run.
Of course, we have to talk about the series finale of WandaVision. I mean, who knows? We don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's so successful. You think, how could you not do another season? But then again,
Right.
it doesn't seem like a show that was set up to have a second season.
I kind of got my thought on all of the Marvel shows. I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier you could go as long as you want, but my feeling was always that they were more limited series than a television show. I never expected a second season. There might be a second Wanda show and a second WandaVision show, but it might be more like comics where it's a like they call it Vision Quest or something like that.
Right. I think they're going to be situational,
Mhm.
depending on what's going on in that phase. There might, like you said, there might be a new Wanda and Vision show next phase or something
Mhm.
like that. The problem though is, do you put them in another sitcom universe?
No, I
Because
think
that was,
I think that's a one shot deal.
I know, but the thing is though, that was so much a reason why people loved it. Would
Yeah.
you? Is it smart to do that thing and give them another show together, but not have it be in the way that people fell in love with it the first time, or do you just let it be this one great season of a thing and just kind of let it be? I mean,
I
I kind
mean,
of think
yeah.
you let it
Yeah, the
personally.
smart money is to let it be because I think what the reason that grabbed so many people was not because of what it is, but because of the uniqueness of what it is. Had it been a tried and true format and just putting them in those sitcom situations still would have been fun to watch, but it wouldn't have had the same impact, I don't think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
speaking of
All
things that
right.
had an impact, we got to get to Coming to America first, I think.
No, yeah.
Um,
By all means.
yeah.
Welcome
So,
to
I mean,
America.
you already gave the best preface on it you can possibly give. I mean, this movie is supposed to have been coming out since I think The Nutty Professor first came out in '95, but we finally got Coming to America. I do feel like, and we've talked about this before, with streaming, I think we lose a lot of fanfare of movie releases. It doesn't seem. It's like stuff is just there all of a sudden. It doesn't seem like this huge build up to a release at the end, and that's kind of what we got with Coming to America 2 or Coming to America.
You missed
Um,
that gathering of people going to the movies to see it,
yeah.
which I think a movie like this, if it had been coming out in theaters, it would
Mhm.
have been sort of like how people were with Bad Boys 3, where all my friends were getting together to go see it,
Yeah.
or when friends were going together to go see Black Panther or something like that. This would have been that kind of movie if
Hmm.
it had been in theater. But now it's just kind of, I see people tweeting, but hey, I'm about to sit down and watch Coming to America.
Yeah. It's
It
not the
doesn't, it's
same.
not the same.
Yeah. It's like, I guess it's my afternoon now. But I mean, what did you before we talk into what it was? Did you expect new ground to be broken, or did you expect just a retread of what we had before? I
I
think
think
that's the
I
biggest question for people.
yeah, I think I expected it to lean very heavy on nostalgia, which it does.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I expected it to be quite as much as it does.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Coming to America is basically it's almost like the inverse of the original Coming to America. So in this case, we spend almost all of our time in Zamunda. We are barely in New York at all. Um, Akeem is about to become king. The problem is, as king, his heir needs to be a male. He can't pass along to a female, and he has three daughters,
Mm-hmm.
uh, who are basically all like Shuri lookalikes. And so he discovers because Simi has always gotten him into trouble. Simi played by Arsenio Hall. That about 30 years ago or whenever it was that they were in New York last, um, he had a one night stand with a woman played by Leslie Jones. Now the movie bends over backwards to make Akeem seem like a decent guy still. There's
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of drugs and all sorts of whatever they
Yeah.
so that he didn't know what was going on. But basically, he fathered his son, played by Jermaine Fowler. So this basically seems like a problem solver. So he goes to New York, gets his son, his streetwise son, brings him and his family back to Zamunda. So the fish out of water thing from the last movie is kind of flipped on his head in this one, where you have the street smart folks coming to be part of royalty, and that's
Right.
where the quote unquote humor comes in. The problem for me is nothing with the son I gave a shit about. I didn't give a shit about any of the stuff about his son. None of that stuff really worked for me at all. The only stuff that worked for me in the least was reminders of how funny the original was. So when he would go back to the barber shop, I thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall were together. It was funny. Callbacks to jokes from the previous movie because most of the stuff is callbacks to jokes from the previous movie. That
Yeah.
stuff for me. But new stuff, I didn't care about the son becoming Prince. And mainly it's because that stuff just doesn't work flipped on his head.
Mm-hmm.
Royalty being forced to come to New York and work menial jobs and learn about what it's like to be an American, that's funny. Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
And streetwise person going to Zamunda to be waited on hand and foot,
That's a vacation.
basically, that's not really that funny to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. So I mean, so yeah, I mean, ultimately, I gave the movie a 3 out of 5. I think it's funny enough, and I think most people will like it. In fact, most people I know who've seen it like it just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I will probably have forgotten I watched this movie in about 6 months, and I
Yeah.
wish it wasn't the case for such a long-awaited sequel. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. It's I don't know. It's fine, but it's
Yeah.
not even dynamic in terms of like direction by Craig Brewer. I mean, it's very flat, just kind of yeah. The Zamunda is colorful, but I don't know. It's like sitcom colorful. It isn't really.
It wasn't Black Panther colorful. It wasn't. It wasn't really any other movie that takes place in Africa
It's not Craig
colorful.
Brewer. I mean, Craig Brewer is this guy who did Hustle and Flow and Black Snake Moan and Dolomite is My Name and Footloose. These really energetic films.
Yeah.
And while he does put a couple of song musical numbers in there, and Last Night's there's a rap sequence that's just awful, but that's in there. It doesn't have the energy in anything we've seen from Craig Brewer before.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is to me it was solely and wholly a trip down memory lane. I thought they did that extremely well where they did it. I was blown away by the number of characters from the original movie they got to come back. Now, some of that is
They
because
even brought back
Arsenio.
Louis Anderson.
What's
I mean,
that?
actually, they even brought back Louis Anderson. But then again, they
Yeah.
were forced to bring back Louis Anderson. Did you read that?
Well, they were forced to have him in the original movie. Is
I thought
is
they were forced to bring him back.
no, he was, and they may have been forced to bring him back too, but it was in the original movie. In the '80s, African Americans were making big strides
Yeah.
towards leading movies and things like that. But and you're really reaching if the white representation you want to have in your movie has to be Louis Anderson. I mean, you're not putting Arnold or Stallone in there. You're putting Louis Anderson. But yeah, no, that was at least the way I read the article I read. I thought it was that they were forced to put him in the original movie.
Yeah.
But part of the reason they can get everybody back is obviously because Murphy and Hall play half the characters in the movie, and that's what we'll always have to thank Coming to America for is this. That's, unless I'm mistaken, that was the start of Eddie Murphy playing multiple roles in movies, for better or worse.
I heard that they were actually considering putting the Clumps characters in this movie too, like for a cameo.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thankfully I missed that, but
Thanks
yeah, I
for
mean,
this.
I was gonna say for better or worse, whether you're the Clumps or Norbit, he's that's really defined his later career.
I'd much rather it have been Norbit.
That's fucked up.
Or
Um,
and you know who's really funny in this is Wesley Snipes, which should come as no surprise to anybody. It's General Easy. I really liked his character. Wesley Snipes, who was so great with Murphy and Dolomite is My Name, is
mhm.
another killer here again. Easy is like this warmongering rival chief,
Yeah,
basically. Kind of like Umbaku, I guess, to like T'Challa. I guess
it's
I
a
don't
yeah, it's a funnier caricature of actual African warlords. You know what I mean? But he's
right, but
got
there's
the
also
gold dripping, and.
right. See, here's the thing about Coming to America that really bugs me though. Like I said, I didn't like any of the stuff with the kid.
Mm,
I wish they had left that storyline out because the most interesting thing to me was seeing Akeem trying to learn how to be king. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I mean, he literally just gets the crown in this film, like at the beginning of this film.
Right.
So I want to see him be king. I don't want to see this other stupid stuff about him learning that he's the father. I actually didn't care about that. It was the best
Yeah.
part was when he was just trying to learn how to rule, and he's trying to learn in a time when it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more progressive than I think he's evolved into. And one of the things about the 1988 film is that he was more progressive than his family, and he had always kind of sworn. And the reason why he got Lisa is because he was going to be different than them.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, we find out he's kind of just like grown to be a lot like his father,
Yeah.
and he's as progressive as Lisa would want him to. And he's like you said, he doesn't want to pass the torch to a woman, and all this real regressive thinking. And I wanted to see him learn. That's what I wanted to see. I didn't care about this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to navigate the stuff with Easy because he's trying to avoid a war
Yeah.
with with them, and trying to arrange marriages, and the woman he left at the altar is still there acting like a dog. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a terrible joke,
Yeah.
buddy. That
That
was a
was
terrible joke then.
some things didn't need a
Terrible.
throwback.
It's terrible that she's still doing it now, like
Yeah.
all these years later. It's like you could have done something better with that, but okay. Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks that didn't work, but there's a lot of them that did. And like I said, I just wish they had focused on him trying to be a leader, because there's so many parallels, and so many parallels to Zamunda, to Wakanda. Like I think they were making those distinctions very like pointedly.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like I was very interested in seeing Zamunda represented as this place of of black royalty, because our impressions of African nations back in the 1980s were people with bones in their noses and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see this kind of updated, more respectful take on it, and I think they did a pretty good job of showing that. Yeah, there are very obvious parallels to Wakanda, and I think they even make a joke about it in the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
They do. Yeah.
I would like to see more of that rather than dealing with this stupid father son crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think where they could have gone with it, and spoiler alert, without saying it outright, where they do eventually go with it anyway, is exactly what you're talking about. He has a chance as he becomes king to do something truly different, which is what endeared him to us in the first place.
Right.
And obviously, he has to go back to America, but I didn't see the need for the whole lost son thing, especially because they did have to dance around making him still a good guy while introducing that. Why not just say, he's getting ready to become king? Lisa says something to him where he realizes he's become more like his dad. He needs to go find himself again, like he did in America the first time. So he goes back and finds whatever it is he's been missing to be more progressive, to be the man that his father wasn't, and what Zamunda needs. And he has a bunch of laughs along the way, and he comes back. I think that would have been fine, because this, there's nothing wrong with making this a vehicle for throwbacks. If you ask me, I mean, people love the original. It's fun to see everybody still back. We need things right now that are just plain fun for no reason. I mean, just the depth of all the callbacks was amazing. Even down to, I forget his name, but the King's right hand man. That's with Eddie throughout the movie.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Just seeing him back, was a big thing. But yeah,
Pretty pretty much everybody from that first movie is here. I mean, even John Amos is here.
I was amazed by how many people are still alive.
I thought John Amos was dead.
I thought he had died a few years ago, but I mean, there were a lot of older people in that movie, which was now 40 years ago. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But so it sounds like we were both on the it's fine level. Not going to hurt you. I don't think new people coming to it are going to get a love for Coming to America from this, but anybody that's seen the original loved
I think
it.
anybody who sees this one without seeing the first one is going to like it, though.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it leans so hard on the first movie that you might not understand. You won't understand why that joke about the woman he left at the altar barking is funny. You
Yeah.
won't understand. You won't understand why the royal bathers is funny. It's because it was funny back in 1988.
That's the thing that I was just glad they included that. I mean, I said before this was done, if there isn't a line about washing the royal penis, I don't want to be in on it.
Right.
But so Raya the Last Dragon's out. This is only Disney's second premiere access, right? It was Mulan in this. There was nothing else.
Yeah, you on this one. So it seems like if you're an Asian movie, then they're gonna make you pay
I
extra.
think that is a coincidence,
Is
but
it
maybe
though?
not. I don't know. Now that you say it out loud, it seems kind of racy.
Nah, I mean there hasn't really been much of anything else really for them to do it. I guess they could have done it with a Pixar, but they didn't. So
Yeah, yeah.
they gave
And
they gave, they gave you Soul for free. So they're like they're like, here, take Soul.
now
These Asian.
there could be a thing said about not charging for the African American centric movie and charging for everything else, but you know,
Right.
Disney fired Gina Carano. They're obviously not racist.
So what did you think of Ryan and the Last Dragon?
You know, I thought so. Disney and Pixar were worlds apart, and I thought until Frozen and Moana and now Raya, they still don't hit as hard. But I feel like the Disney animated movies, Raya being one of them, and probably the most exemplifying this, has more heart than a lot of the Pixar movies do. I mean, Pixar movies are saccharine. You know, they're very sweet. They have good stories that we can watch. But the movies they've been doing recently, you know, and I think Raya is a step above Frozen and even Moana, which Moana had so much heart. This was everything I wanted it to be, and then a little bit more. I mean, Aquafina, I'm always kind of on the fence about. I don't know why, because she always makes me laugh, but I'm always on the fence about her. But the movie was funnier than I thought it was going to be. It had every bit of martial arts. Like, it really respected the martial arts soul of the movie. The fights were choreographed beautifully. Everything, you know, the culture was handled, you know, with a depth that's not always touched. And you know, it was everything I wanted it to be be honest with you. And I'm really glad to see that. I was reading, you know, you and I part ways on The Last Jedi, but I was reading the other day about
How come you like the Last Jedi?
what's that?
Did you like the Last Jedi?
I did, but I
So
liked it more over time.
you just don't think it's the best of Star
Right,
Wars.
right. But Kelly Marie Tran, you know, I keep hearing more and more about her. I like to separate the people from the performances, but sometimes you can't do that for better or worse. And, you know, I keep hearing these stories about her, and Ryan Johnson tweeted something the other day about how on the set of Last Jedi, you'd find her, like, poking her head in different departments, and next thing you know, she'd be helping them sew pores, and just obviously a very delightful human being. So seeing her get to head up this movie as Raya and really show some skill as a voice actor was good for me too. I really liked the movie end to end.
Yeah, I mean, I messaged the other day. I was watching The Last Jedi with a friend, and I was like, the more I watch The Last Jedi, the more I hate The Rise of Skywalker.
See,
And that take, I don't care if it's 30 years from now, that take will stay the same.
yeah,
That take will never change.
mine is similar because I liked the Rise of Skywalker. I fist pumped while I watched it, but the more I see Colin Trevorrow's script, the more I see concept.
Right. The Colin Trevorrow script makes you hate Rise of Skywalker
Yeah,
more. But the thing that made it worse for me was I had my friend that was with me. Um, she kept asking questions like, "Why wasn't this thing in the next movie? Why didn't they do this in the next movie?" And I'm like thinking I'm going to know because of what I do. And I was like, all I could do was shrug, man. I was like, man, I don't know, man. I don't
See,
know.
when you have two directors who like to measure their penis size against each other and make all the audiences pay for it, this is what you
I don't
get.
know why. I don't know why they didn't follow up with Rose and Finn. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, although I do know, but I mean, but not in a way. I'm not going to sit there and try to explain the dynamics of shifting creators and ego and all that kind of crap. I'm not going to talk about all that stuff with somebody who's more of a casual fan. I
Yeah.
was
I mean, this might be a privileged white guy take, but I didn't think Rose Tico was a particularly compelling character. I mean, I think it started that way. Now, Finn, the idea that a simple
fair.
line of
She only
dialogue.
had one movie to be it.
Yeah,
She was
but
supposed to have a second one to be it, and
yeah,
then and Abrams was like, "Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
no."
fair enough. But I mean, you also should be able to build a little bit of that, character in that first movie. But
I know. All I know is fans wanted that relationship, but
yeah,
then again, the third movie was basically going to be a love triangle. I mean, it was because Ray was supposed to be kind of in a thing, have feelings for Finn too.
yeah,
So it was going to be more of a love triangle thing, which I would have loved to have seen to have a love triangle with a black guy in the middle and one an Asian girl and a white girl, and just kind of all sorts of different cultures going on there. It would have been interesting. It would have
yeah.
been different Star Wars.
Especially having none of that matter to the people in the story. Like it's consequential. You know what I mean? It's not the basis of why they're doing it. And
But we also know that romantic relationships in Star Wars matter. Like they matter a lot.
yeah, oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
No, I
it,
mean it
it,
matters to the
would have been
audience, but I mean to the characters in the movie. They're not like, oh yeah, I want to date a black guy or I want to date an Asian girl. You know, it's just
oh yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
people
No,
falling in
yeah.
love.
No,
Um,
they don't deal with a race like that in Star Wars unless
God, it
you're
would
that
be tiring if you did. I mean, you got people with
unless,
tentacles coming off their heads.
unless you're unless you're an Asian member of the Trade Federation or Jewish stereotype working working on Dantooine or something, and then it deals with race. So that's the way it deals with race.
Yeah,
So it
that
doesn't
shit.
do
That
it the
shit
other
is.
way.
I had to have that. I see. I just don't like look for this stuff. I guess maybe that's part of my privilege too. But when somebody pointed out to me that Watto was basically a 1940s German propaganda poster, I was like, oh my god, this is how did they get away with this? This is like so
And
bad.
the traders are like, oh well, we all saw.
Yes,
Like, why are
yes.
you talking like that? But then again, all this
Uh,
stuff happened in the Lucas era and not necessarily
right.
after. But
And
anyway, we
also,
were
we're
getting
talking about Raya the Last Dragon.
this is completely my fault. I got us talking about the Last Jedi.
Right.
Ryan the Last Dragon. I really enjoyed this. It's
Hmm.
colorful, and yeah, it was interesting when you heard you say when I heard you say that you think the Disney movies have more heart. I think if anything, the Disney movies to me have been better at doing big adventure movies.
Hmm.
Pixar does. Pixar does personal stories really well. Um, but Disney has really taken because the Frozen movies have developed into like big adventure movies too.
Hmm.
I feel like that's kind of what they've been doing and doing really well, which is I think the thing that differentiates the two studios from me because Disney could easily just make them one studio if they wanted to and
Yeah.
then do the same things, but they're doing two totally different types of stories.
Right.
Uh, and I like that. And Ryan fits into that. Hold on, I got a cat that wants to get out the house. Get out the door. Hold on.
Yeah. So I'll clarify what I was saying while Travis is getting to let the cat out. I with Moana is really where it started for me. Frozen didn't have a ton of
Moana, another
heart.
big adventure story.
It is, but like the idea of family, the core of it is about knowing where you're from and where family is and where like that feeling. To me, Pixar is always more granular, whereas Disney animation does a more macro level feeling of bigger ideas. Whereas it's exactly what you're saying. Pixar is more personal, and I agree with that totally. Disney animation does bigger ideas of a community or a larger level much better, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed this mainly. Excuse me, on that level, on the action adventure level. I
Hmm.
feel like the story is as much as I was into it is it kind of feels like Disney on autopilot. Like the character Raya and her relationship with the characters around her, including the dragon voiced by Aquafina,
Hmm.
feels a lot like the dynamic of many different Disney movies without much
Yeah.
difference. And I think that's kind of the way it is for a lot of them. But what I really dug about it was that they built this really great kind of mythology around it all. So you got this land that where humans and dragons live together. I guess sort of like how to train a dragon, I suppose. Um, and then this plague takes over the land, and the dragons sacrifice themselves to save the land. But the humans who have this jewel that's supposed to protect them, the people act like people, and they're selfish, and they and they fight over the gem, and
Hmm.
eventually the gem is broken by betrayal, due to a betrayal, and it releases the plague back out into the land again. And Raya, who loses her father in that instance, goes off on her own to try and save the day. And I think it's a really great story that they set up there that has potential to tell further stories. If they wanted to, they could do multiple Raya movies. They could do a whole Raya trilogy, sort of like they did with the How to Train Your Dragon
Hmm.
trilogy. They could easily do that, and I would love to see them do it. Um, she gathers this ragtag group, and what I enjoyed about them is that they all have a personal stake. All of them have had this because the world is basically a post-apocalyptic at this point throughout most of the movie, and all the characters in her group, while they're all different in their own ways, what bonds them is that they've all been personally affected.
Right.
Many people have lost their families. In fact, all of them have lost their families because of what's happened. So there's this undertone, this undercurrent of somberness to it as well.
Hmm.
So I really dug that about the movie. It gives it some added depth, some added stakes, which made the whole journey seem relevant and really important. So that's what I want from when I look for an adventure action movie, is
Hmm.
for there to be some stakes to it, some emotional stakes, and the movie finds it. So yeah, it worked for me. I mean, I really dug it. I think it's worth the $29.99. Sort of like I thought Milan was worth the $29.99. A movie you can watch over and over again. Kids are probably going to like it. It's got fun characters. It's colorful. Action scenes where the fights are well choreographed, and they're true to different disciplines.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I love. They
yeah,
actually took their time. It wasn't like, even the live action Mulan seemed to be kind of generic martial arts, but not only is it to take time with the different types of martial arts and give credence to each, but they also gave credence to the real world filmmaking of that type of movie. Like there's a lot of shots in here you can tell lead to like a Jet Li movie, or like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like when she's walking into the temple and it shows the top of her hat down. It's just like the way that they not, I don't want to say copy, but homage to those types of movies is really really cool.
yep. So I think we both recommend Raya and the Last Dragon. That is out on Disney Plus right now, on Disney Premier Access.
And you get to keep it,
Will cost you right. You
kind of.
get
I mean,
$29.99.
yeah, as long
Uh,
as you have Disney Plus, you get to watch your movie.
and as long as they decide you can keep it.
Yeah.
One of the things, one of the one of the strongest cases for keeping your physical copies of things is that
Mhm.
when they're gone digitally, they're just gone. So that's one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about video games.
Right.
And it's so easy to just download video games now, but they routinely take games away.
And you get so many of them with Game Pass and everything like that. You get so many
they
that
take,
you don't even realize they're gone.
right,
You
they
guys
take.
have to forgive my little dance there. I realized that my camera
Ooh, what
had a
the hell?
little. There we go. Now I'm clear. I had a little smudge on the camera. I gotta let the people take in all of this, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Um, so I wasn't expecting boss level. I guess we'll jump to that now. I wasn't expecting much from boss level. I do love that Frank Grillo has become um, the
Is it
modern day,
Grillo
like,
or isn't it Grio?
is it Griot? It would make more sense as Griot. And the guy with the Puerto Rican wife should know that, but he always forgets that. It is most likely Griot, but I said Grillo.
If I had to pick a favorite movie of the week, it was Boss Level.
Yeah.
Um, and this is a movie that has been, I mean, Jesus, this movie's been around, kicking around for a little while.
Hmm.
Like a lot of movies, ran into distribution issues, and before Hulu finally picked it up.
Hmm.
Um, and basically, it's not a complicated movie. It's I describe it as Kill Bill meets Source Code, and but it's also very much true to its name, Boss Level, in that it feels like a quarter munching video game.
Hmm.
Um, in that. it's the kind of thing where you get into it and you're invested in it and you're playing it and you play it over and over and over again and you're exhausted by the end of it. And but if you beat the boss, it all feels worth it, even though you're
Mm.
probably and it kind of feels like that. So it's like Frank Grillo plays Roy Pulver, which is a great action hero name, by the way. Roy Pulver, ex Delta Force dude who is stuck in a time loop. And it's another time loop movie. Stuck in a time loop where he always dies at the end. He doesn't know why he's there for most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
All he knows is that people are keep trying to kill him. So he wakes up every morning with some guy with a machete trying to take his head off. Um, and then he gets blasted by a helicopter with a machine gun held by Rob Gronkowski. It's sort of ridiculous. So he faces all these colorful characters, sort of like Kill Bill characters, who
Mm-hmm.
keep coming after him, and he doesn't know why. Eventually, he discovers that it's because of something that his ex-wife, played by Naomi Watts, was working on, a test that she was working on, a project.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he is stuck in it, and he has to find a way to rescue her, also find and reconnect with his son, and then stop the guy who's in charge of this thing, played by Mel Gibson.
Was that
And
all?
the movie is deliberately silly. It is very silly. It is repetitive the way these time loop movies are, and of course he learns and all this kind of crap along the way. But I just had a ball watching him, have die over and over again in ridiculous ways and face these crazy characters. But the thing that surprised me most, because that stuff I expect that from Joe Carnahan. Like I know the action's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I know with Frank Grillo, he's going to be believable as a tough guy. That stuff's going to work for me. And the characters that he faces are fun too, like the Guan Yin chick who keeps with the sword, who keeps cutting his head off.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is fun. Or the guy with the harpoon who drags him around the street. Stuff like that is fun. And I know I expect that stuff from Carnahan because he does funny action really well, and he makes fun of himself really well too. There's a couple of good in jokes at his own movies. Like there's a crack at about Liam Neeson being a fake tough guy. Of course, he worked with Liam Neeson in the A Team and The Gray.
The Gray, yeah.
So he knows how to make fun of himself and the people he's worked with. Um, what surprised me is that he actually tries to put in a pretty decent father-son story in here too, where Grio is trying to make up for lost time with the son who doesn't even know that he's his father. So and of course they do that by playing video games. Of course, that's inspired by video games. So that stuff really worked for me, and there's not much about it that didn't, surprisingly, other than I would say that there's a couple too many exposition dumps for me for a movie that doesn't really need it.
Right.
And anything with Ken Jeong in it in this movie, it probably sucked. Ken Jeong wasn't very funny in this movie. In fact, he was annoying in this movie.
Are you a Ken Jeong fan or no?
I'm not a Ken Jeong fan, but the thing is, that's because Ken Jeong to me was The Hangover,
Mm-hmm.
which maximum annoying.
Yeah.
But he's actually kind of grown on me over the years. I don't hate him anymore. But this was back to me not liking Ken Jeong. And it's not
Yeah.
because over the top Ken Jeong. It just those scenes in the bar weren't funny, and they kind of brought the movie because the movie has really great momentum throughout,
Mm-hmm.
except in the bar. It's like only in the bar does it feel like it's
Time stands still,
it's,
yeah.
it's come to a halt, and I'm like, okay, those scenes weren't really working, but whatever. Those are where a lot of the exposition dumps were happening too. So it's like, okay, those scenes didn't work, but you cut those out, and pretty much everything else did for me.
Yeah, I mean, right on the money. This type of movie is my favorite all time type of movie, better than Marvel movies or epic movies or anything like that. Just because, I started loving movies on watching something I could watch on a Saturday afternoon, and kind of get into the drama of it all, and still have fun and laugh, and this is exactly that. And I've said 100 times, God bless Netflix and Hulu for saving this type of movie. We wouldn't have these movies if it was only theaters. I mean, with COVID, we don't even have theaters, but this mid-level action movie, it was going to go the way of the buffalo, and it got saved. And this is a perfect example of why it needs to. I mean, everything, it's amazing to me that the time loop movie didn't die right after Groundhog Day, but we're seeing it applied to so many different genres, and it always seems to work if you do it right. I mean, you got Happy Death Day, Freaky, Boss Level, but watching him grow accustomed to the ways that people are going to try and kill him, and use it to his advantage. So he's walking across the street like Frogger, not getting hit. He's walking
Yeah.
in between a bullet storm. All this stuff. And I think Frank Grillo, let me say, he's got to be one of my favorite low key action stars. I mean, the guy's got
Oh,
more
great.
charisma than he knows what to do with.
Yeah.
And I know people
I
hate me
think
for
this is
saying
the
this,
movie
but
where he's back to show his charisma better than any other movie. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, we've seen him as Crossbones, and he led a couple of Purge movies, and he did one of the um Jesus Christ, why can't I remember the name of those movies now? The sci-fi movies I was just talking about not that long ago.
Skyline.
Skyline. He did one of the Skyline. He did Beyond Skyline,
Hmm.
which he was really good in that too, and I praised him for that because he was the lead of that movie. But this is the one where I think he really gets to show his charisma as a leading man
He's
more
never
than
been fun like he is in this movie. I
he's
mean, you know, is always, he seems slightly fun. Like there's a fun edge to him in every movie, but he never gets to really be there. And
that kid, his kid who plays his son is his actual son.
yeah, I saw that when I was looking up because I have this really bad habit of whenever I watch a movie that's not in a theater, I always have to have IMDb up so I can read the trivia. But yeah, Rio Grillo is his name,
Yeah,
his son's name. But and I know I'll get some hate for this, but I freaking love Mel Gibson as a crazy bad guy. I do.
I do too. But this was sort of I don't know. This was sort of low key for him. Like I didn't think he was all that over the top.
Yeah, he wasn't Machete over the top for sure.
Yeah,
He was almost
I
reserved,
think
but
I think I expected crazier from him.
mhm.
But he was almost. I don't know, his villain wasn't all that compelling. And I guess that's because the villain, the bad guy, he's not really the point.
Right. Yeah, it's getting through, and it's those personal stakes that you mentioned
Right.
earlier.
Exactly. The point is that the point is fixing the problem, but the bad guy, he doesn't. He's not really. He's never really perceived as much of a threat. Oh, that's why he has all this army of dudes around him. He's not really a threat,
Right.
and he's not really. He's not really crazy over the top the way we would expect from a Mel Gibson type character. So he was fine, but I didn't really think about him much. And then in my review, I barely really even mentioned him. So
Yeah. So I think that's we've got a good run today of movies. The worst we had is it's fine. Um,
at the end, I think.
but
Go
we're
ahead.
about yeah, it's about to end as we walk into the chaos of chaos walking. This is if you had told me 6 months ago there's gonna be a movie, or a year ago, let's say, Spider-Man and Ray from Star Wars are gonna be starring in a movie together, and it's gonna be a sci-fi epic. And
The director of the Born Identity.
from from director of the Born Identity, I would have definitely thought it would be
The director
more.
of Edge of Tomorrow, another time loop movie.
There you go. Yeah, the one that really brought them back, if you think about it. I would have definitely thought this would be more Edge of Tomorrow than Inside. Well, it was not Inside Earth. What was the one with Will Smith? And his
After
son?
Earth.
After Earth. Just, I did they mean to make another movie? I don't know the behind the scenes story on this one.
So Chaos Walking, based on the first book from Patrick Ness's series of novels, a YA dystopian movie.
Hmm.
I know you thought that genre was dead, and it's because it is. But this movie has been in the works since 2012.
Hmm.
So that's why, if it feels a little rusty, that's why. Um, and it's so crazy to me to think that when they first uh, announced this movie, like I said, nearly a decade ago, it was Charlie Kaufman who wrote the first draft of the script.
Oh, really?
Um, oh yeah, it's Charlie Kaufman. It was the thing that blew people away. It's like, really, Charlie Kaufman's doing a YA movie? Oh shit! There have been about 1,000 rewrites since then. So his name isn't even on the credits anymore. That's how That's how many it's been and how long it's been.
Yeah.
A couple of directors until Doug Liman came on a few years ago. Now, here's the thing: Doug Liman has a history of fixing troubled productions. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, The Born Identity, Jumper, all these movies that had really troubled shoots that Doug Liman was able to piece together and make decent movies out of.
Hmm.
And I think the assumption was that he was going to be able to do the same thing with this one, because this one has had reshoots after reshoots, test screenings that were really poorly, so they went and retooled it over and over again. Delays because those people, Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, they're a little bit busy. So there's all sorts of reasons why this thing has just been a one big mess.
Right.
Uh, the movie comes out, and my thoughts on it when it was over was, yeah, it's fine. I mean, that's pretty much how I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it's okay. I mean,
It's not offensive. I mean, it doesn't offend you for spending your
more than
time with
that.
it, but it's
It's
boring.
more than that because it has a really, I think a really great concept.
Hmm.
So you're in this, the human Earth is destroyed or whatever. Humanity's on this new planet, but on this planet, all the men are affected with something called the noise, which basically means they have no hidden thoughts. All their thoughts are visual. You can see them. Anybody can hear them as well. They can't be hidden. There are no secrets.
Basically, every man's worst nightmare.
Right. It's basically what women want or
Uh,
what men. It's basically what that is.
yeah.
What this, you can hear all men's thoughts. In the place where called Prenticeville, where Tom Holland's character lives, there are no women either,
Hmm.
which is a big part of the mystery. There are no women. He knows that his mom was killed, and he believes that other women were killed by the native race to the planet, like this alien race. They're not alien; they're the natives.
Yeah.
Like that was made
It's a
in the
very
movie.
American way to look at it. No matter where you go, the other people are the aliens.
Exactly. So he thinks that's part of the big. That's the story. But there's also a bigger mystery surrounding it.
Hmm.
Uh, Daisy Ridley's character arrives from a spaceship that crash lands, and when she comes to the town where he is at, no one can. Tom Holland's character can't hear her thoughts. You come to find out that you can't hear women's thoughts in this place. Um, and so, without giving anything more than that away, there's a reason why that is, but there's
Hmm.
also a reason why, a truer reason why the women are all gone. And there, like I said, there's a really neat setup there, and I think it's an especially timely one too, because the movie is basically about toxic masculinity and misogyny
Hmm.
and men's fear of women, and these are all issues that I thought could have been explored really well through the lens of a sci-fi dystopian thriller like this.
Yeah.
It sets itself up to do it, but basically it just becomes this really bland chase movie. And it never grows beyond that. Like I
Hmm.
kept waiting for it to do something that was going to be like, okay, here comes this nifty little twist to it, or this bit of insight here, but we never really get it.
Nope.
uh, and I was just kind of, I don't know, I like Daisy Ridley's performance, I guess, in it, um,
I like
because
that I have more confidence in Tom Holland as Nathan Drake now. I mean, I'll say that.
yeah, I suppose, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not as much as Nathan Fillion, but I mean, it was just to me it was just boring. There was nothing really other than a premise that was unique and wasted. There was just nothing memorable about the movie.
No.
If I had to sit down right now and write 10, 10 impactful scenes or even 5 impactful scenes, I probably couldn't do it outside of the big action sets. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
the dog, of course.
what's that?
The dog scene, of course.
I don't even know if I'd write that down.
Yeah.
I mean, it made, the thing is, it started to get a little interesting halfway through, but I think, maybe I was just in a bad mood or something, but by then I was over it. And I couldn't, I did think some of the visuals were cool, like the whole, thing around their heads and everything, but, and
It did make that look cool. I thought it was especially cool for David Oyelowo's character. He plays like this real fire and brimstone cleric,
mhm,
and full of rage, so rageful, in fact, that his thoughts are basically fire.
mhm,
Uh, I thought that was a really neat visual, and an interesting idea that they don't really do anything with.
yeah.
Um, like I said, I like Daisy Ridley's performance in this. I like that her character. I wish they could have framed it a little bit more from her perspective, because she's really in the worst position of them all. She's the only woman around for the most part, and she's in this place where she can see and hear every single thing that men think of her.
It's
And
terrifying.
it would now be not only would that be terrifying, but it would be dehumanizing, and
Oh, yeah.
it would God, it would make you so uncomfortable with yourself. Yeah, Jesus Christ, that her position, if it framed correctly, this could have made a really really intense horror movie.
Oh, yeah. Imagine you're the only woman in a town and you look like Daisy Ridley at that, and you can hear what every dude's thinking of you. I mean, I you know, I am a very good dude. I don't want people hearing my thoughts because every once
I
in a while
like
you
the
think something
fact
crazy.
I like the fact that they didn't try to make Tom Holland's character pure because
Oh yeah,
he kept thinking, you know,
yeah,
sexy thoughts about her. I mean,
yeah,
for a guy who'd never seen a woman before, that's understandable.
yeah.
But
His first
but
thought should have been,
they
"What's in
didn't
my
try to make it
pants?"
right. They didn't try to make him such a good guy that he didn't have thoughts like, man, she's cute. What a great smile. Hey, I wish he'd kiss me. You
Right.
know. Now, and honestly, in reality, he's probably like, I want to
Yeah.
do that. But
Reality's like, girl, what
but
that smell like?
there were plenty of other guys in Prentice Town thinking those thoughts. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Mads Mikkelsen wasted again. Is there anybody that has been wasted as much as Mads Mikkelsen? He shows up in everything, and very rarely do his true talents, as his real potential, get to hit the screen. I think.
yeah, no, I agree with you there. This is a waste of a role for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is one of those guys that every time you see him in every time he does a franchise or something like this, you're just kind of like, you could have done more with Mads Mikkelsen there.
Yeah, but he does have a rockin' fur coat in this, so that's that he gets to wear for a little while. You don't see
I
that a lot.
keep thinking about him and like not just like the dramas that he's done, like The Hunt or whatever
Hmm.
like that. But I keep thinking about like a movie like Valhalla Rising, where he is
Yeah.
just you're like you can't make another epic with Mads Mikkelsen, please. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know.
Yeah.
There's
That movie, if
amazing in that movie.
you can find that on any streaming service, look up Valhalla Rising. It's very very good.
Yeah, Nicholas
You'll definitely
Winding
like it.
Refn. I was just thinking I hadn't seen a Nicholas Winding Refn thing in a while.
Mm.
Um, I mean, of course he did Neon Demon a couple years ago, and he had that TV series, but that didn't end up watching. But
I don't remember which one.
yeah, he did a what was the name of that TV show? Now I'm gonna look it up because I don't remember. But
Let's see. Nicholas Winding Refn. Welcome to the part of the show where I look things up.
yeah,
Um,
we need a producer to do stuff like this.
yeah, really. Um, Only God Forgives, Pusher, Valhalla Rising, Bronson, Neon Demon. Too Old to Die Young.
Yes, there it is.
Yep.
That is it. Too old to die young. And I
So I
never
didn't know
did.
that was an Ed Brubaker thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I never and it Miles Teller, and I never did watch it.
Oh,
And it was on
I'm putting this on my guide now just from I don't even remember anything about this, but Detective
now,
Martin
now,
Jones.
now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm gonna put it on my
Yeah.
Amazon. I never did watch it.
Who leads a double life as a killer for hire in Los Angeles' deadly
It's
underground,
apparently
suffers an existential
extremely violent.
crisis.
It's of course it's referenced, so it's extremely violent. From what
Yeah. But is it normal Refn violence where it's like nothing, 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 hyper violence, nothing, nothing, nothing. We fall on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to Nicholas Winding Refn. People probably haven't heard us talk about that for a very long time, but we're running at about 48 minutes. So we got to switch over to something that we have been heavy on since its premiere, and that's I'm actually surprised by how heavy we have been on WandaVision. I honestly was not super psyched for it when it was before it came out and started watching it. Really loved the sitcom of it all in the first two episodes. I know that's where it lost quite a few people.
Right.
And then just continued loving everything about it to the end. Um, Now we're finally done with it. We're at the finale.
What you think?
I don't know how I felt. I don't know if I was let down or not. I don't think I was. I enjoyed what I saw, but I almost wanted more.
I think a lot. Well, look, before going into it, not only had the showrunner, but Paul Bettany both said I think fans are going to be disappointed by it by the
Hmm.
final, and I think that's because they had set expectations so high
Right.
leading up to it, and Bettany didn't help by promising a cameo
Trolling ass.
that turned out to be one big joke by him. Like the person he was, he got the big cameo was himself basically.
Right.
So he was talking about really wanting to work with himself. He was telling a really bad joke that went the wrong way.
Hmm.
Uh, so he got people's expectations high for something that didn't really happen. So yeah, there probably was a little bit of disappointment by some people, but I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed this on because this one basically this one this is the whole sitcom thing almost completely.
Hmm.
That's pretty much gone in this episode. And it's just one big. This is just one big fight scene, basically. This whole episode
Yeah.
is basically between Wanda and Agatha Harkness and two versions of the Vision, basically. Um, and I enjoyed this on a purely Marvel level.
Hmm.
Like I think that's how I like this compared to every other episode where there's all sorts of nuance and levels to them and all sorts of stuff. This one was just big Marvel action, and it seemed like it kind of felt like they were saving up for this in terms of like effects and the scale of it, in terms of what they were doing.
Hmm.
Like they were kind of building up to this because it's not like like a ton of big action scenes leading up to this.
Hmm.
It's mostly humor and drama and stuff like that. But it's not like big action in the previous 8 episodes. This is the one where there was. I felt like they were kind of waiting for it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because as you're saying, I'm thinking, wow, only Marvel could spend episodes saving up their effects budget and end up making something better in the process without the effects. I mean, everything about this series, I felt like it was going different places and it just didn't go there. And again, that's our fault, right? It's the viewers' fault. We're the ones who said Mephisto was in it. We're the ones, but I will put it partially on Marvel because in their episode, it was either episode 8 or 9 teaser. It ended with a shot of Doctor Strange walking up towards the window at Bleecker Street. There was no spoiler alert. There's no Doctor Strange, other than a quick reference at one point.
What was
Um,
that? I remember that.
yeah, one of the promos they had after everything else, it showed Doctor Strange walking up to that window at Bleecker Street, but it didn't say anything about it, and then just cut. Um, so
Must have completely missed that.
the other thing is I'm not very discerning on the videos I watch, so it could have been like somebody's Easter egg video, and I just didn't realize it. But I'm blaming Disney for that. I don't care.
It was probably somebody talking about how this connects to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of
Right.
Madness.
But again, they never actually said WandaVision would connect to that. They said Wanda would play a major part in Multiverse Madness, so we assumed that this was leading into it, and it wasn't. I thought it was brilliant, the whole Vision versus Vision
Well,
fight. I
I
mean,
think it does. I think the post credit scene shows that it does.
oh
So go ahead.
yeah, okay. So the post credit scene, might, and I'm gonna get to that, but the Vision versus Vision scene was just textbook old Hollywood, two geniuses fight. And they let go of the violence and have a battle of the wits. And I thought that was really well done and really funny to see. Watching that final battle and not realizing what Wanda was doing when she kept missing with her magic,
Right.
just for her to turn all around was amazing. The visuals, Elizabeth Olsen,
We
beautiful
all
woman,
knew.
huh?
We all knew as soon as Agatha said that line about the runes in episode 8.
It
We
was
all,
gonna come back
we
around,
all
yeah.
knew, we all knew that was going to come back to bite her. Like,
Right.
there's not a person on the planet who's ever watched a movie with a bad guy with a Bond villain in it, or
Mm-hmm.
or something, whatever, that didn't know that that line was going to come back to bite her. And yet I still didn't realize what Wanda was
Yeah.
doing.
I
Uh,
was into it enough that I didn't realize, and nowadays with the series, it's a double. There's a double feint that you have to watch out for because anything that was done previously that's of any import to the episode will be showed in the previously on, and usually it's like they'll show a quick shot of that scene just to remind you, hey, remember these runes? You might want to remember, but seeing Wanda show up, break into the magic and get her full classic Scarlet Witch outfit and really take control of her powers was awesome. Totally awesome. Heartbreaking at the end. I think more heartbreaking that a lot of us were hoping beyond hope that it wouldn't end up that way, but it couldn't end up any other way. And then the most amazing, kind of sign off with the post credit scenes. I mean, just seeing her replicate Doctor Strange's weird possession magic reading thing in that full outfit, just amazing. The whole thing was amazing to look at. To be honest with you.
yeah, I really enjoyed this episode as a capper to the show. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I enjoyed this one in a different way than I did the other episodes.
Right.
Um, it wasn't the same as the other episodes; it was different. It ended in the kind of, I would say, bittersweet fashion than I expected it to. It's
Mm.
it's good that on the plus side, the people of Westview have their lives back. There's a really great scene in the movie where Agatha frees them all from being in her under her hex, and they all are basically pleading, not even necessarily for their lives. Some of them do, but some of them are pleading just to let their families into the show.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna keep me under this spell, at least let my family into it. It was really a lot of anguish there and a lot of pain, and
Mm.
you saw what the true impact of what Wanda had been doing to these people. I think we all sort of knew it anyway, that she was really putting these people through something, but we didn't really think about the whole aspect of it. Like, their families are a lot of them are basically just being locked away in rooms and stuff, and they not doing
Right.
anything to see their families at all. They're just part of this show beyond their control. Um, and some of them did plead, just kill me.
I mean, that final walk down Main Street after she lets go of the hex, and everybody knows, they're not going to fight her, they're not going to hit her because she'll destroy them. But the anguish that she's feeling from both sides of the street, walking down from all the people she hurt, um, and Wanda Maximoff is a character who just doesn't get a break. I mean, she's the reason for the Civil War. She was trying to save Cap and threw the person up, and I blew up the building, and all kinds of people in there. Every step she takes is like another tragedy, and this was just
And this is
you
going to be
know
one of those things that years from now, sort of like the New York incident or Sokovia,
mm-hmm.
one of those things, which also involved her. But it's going to be one of those that is going to be she's going to be tagged with no matter where she goes.
Yeah,
She's just another one of those things that's going to be on her back. Um, yeah, I mean, she just just keep piling on poor Wanda.
I know.
Um, yeah, this is like I said, another great episode, and the post credit sequences, both of them, I think are interesting for different reasons. But the first one involving Monica Rambeau, and
Secret invasion touches.
it looks like we know where she's going from this
Mm-hmm.
show. She gets greeted by a scroll who says that she has a friend up there that she needs to meet. And that's obviously Nick Fury. Um, Sounds like Monica Rambeau is going to be headed to that Secret Invasion show with Ben Mendelsohn and
Mm-hmm.
Samuel Jackson. I'm down for that. Just give me that. I'm cool with that.
Photon now.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. And then the sequence after that, the one I said that probably ties most directly to Doctor Strange 2 is Wanda kind of going off on her own, going off the grid, and it looks like she's kind of living her own peaceful life, kind of like Thanos at the end of Avengers: Infinity War,
Yeah,
going off on her own and just kind of I'm gonna be here in this little farmhouse for the rest of my life.
making tea. Yep.
Right, but no, she's actually in the back, as astral projection, and she's in the back studying the Darkhold, which is the book of the evil book, the book of the damned or book of the dead, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can hear the sounds of her children crying in the background. And I think her role in Doctor Strange 2 is she's going to be trying to get her children back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be her main focus from this point forward until she does get them back. I do think they're going to be characters because they are part of Young Avengers in the comics. I do think
Yeah.
they go up at some point, but I think that's going to be her driving motivation from here on out is finding a way to reunite her family in the real world.
What about Vision? What's your take on Vision? So when we last see, obviously Hex World Vision is no more, but White Vision that came to fight. Like I said, there's a battle of wits, and Hex World Vision unlocks or appears to unlock White Vision's memories. So he is now.
Yeah, he basically gives him his own memories. He has everything from the Hex World Vision has been given to the emotionalist White Vision. So
Mhm.
now he basically we don't know if he has the same emotional capacity as that Vision because he hasn't had the life experiences, but he at least has the memories.
Yeah, I mean
I
we
guess
don't know at all what it is, but I'm hoping. I just started. I've never read Vision Quest before. I know that's where part of that comes from. I just started reading Vision Quest last night, which is the West Coast Avengers storyline that covers this emotionless. Don't need to read
read
it.
read the Vision limited series from I can't remember when it came out a few years ago, but it's basically this. It is Wanda and Vision in this idyllic suburban neighborhood trying to set up a family. Read that. if you want to
I
get.
started reading that one too. So is that one just had he had a female Vision wife? Is that's the one you're talking about where he's okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that one going too. But it'd be interesting because Vision, Paul Bettany. People forget he's been with the MCU since Jump Street. He was the original voice of Jarvis, and they make a lot of cool allusions to that during their goodbye scene when he says, I was a voice without a body, and then I was a body without a soul, or whatever. But we finally got him in a place where I think he's integral, and I'd like to see them come back. I mean, so it's hard to even see how Wanda could come back to be a regular Avenger after all that's happened, but. These characters are obviously not done yet. So
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, we talked about how it was a kind of a sad ending for Wanda and Vision
mm-hmm.
at the end of this show. The MCU isn't going anywhere. Their story is far from over.
Yeah,
I fully expect that someday they will be together again, but they're going to go through some shit first. So
absolutely.
it's interesting to me that they were such an underdeveloped pair before this, and because we'd really only seen them as a couple for a couple of movies.
Yeah, not even a couple movies, a couple scenes, really.
Right, a couple of scenes in a couple of movies, and the entirety of this 9 episode series, they've been in a totally fictional world. So their relationship wasn't true at all at the time,
Mm-hmm.
entire duration of it. And yet, by the end of the show, I felt like I wanted them to be together, and then I wanted them to come out of this okay and have their happily ever after moment. Pretty crazy that Marvel was able to do that without really giving them the kind of screen time that a romantic couple that you're supposed to care about should have.
Yeah, and a couple that's made up of a synthezoid and a witch. I mean, it's like, it's. I know it seems ridiculous. We can say, well, it's a movie, but historically, people have had hard times connecting to people when they're not represented on screen. I mean, that's the whole thing about representation. But Marvel
Right.
seems to have found this place where you can make
have not been represented well on screen.
right. But they found this place where their storytelling is so good it gets you there. So I personally am extremely excited because when it comes to Marvel, I've always been more on the side of intrigue and espionage than mysticism and magic. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which looks like the ultimate buddy comedy action show, is coming up. I've spoken before about my love for all things Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. Whenever they were together on screen, I mean, even just the little stuff like in Civil War where he and Falcon and Winter Soldier are in the car and Steve kisses Sharon Carter and they're back there just like your boys in high school and you can remember seeing them, your boys that were laughing at you and making fun of you. I just can't wait to see these two. The action looks extreme. It's going to be awesome. And we have a 1 week, if we can make it, we have a 1 week sabbatical until we're back in Marvel land. How dare they make us wait a week before another new Marvel thing?
They're giving you that best of or making of WandaVision thing next week, so you can watch that.
Cop out. It's a cop out, goddammit. Although I will say, the Mandalorian's gallery.
You want 52 weeks of Marvel, bitch.
I want 53. I want them to amend the calendar and give me 53. But have you watched the Mandalorian gallery, like the behind the scenes show they did?
I think I watched the one that like multiple episodes. I think I may have watched the first one.
Yeah, so it's awesome. If you haven't, and the reason I say this is that their Disney Plus is actually doing a really good job with their behind the scenes material. But if you haven't watched the Mandalorian's gallery, what's that?
It's because you got 24 hours a day of content to fill.
Well, yeah, but they do a good job. They're still putting quality stuff out. Just the episodes on it's the Void, or I don't remember what they call it, but essentially it's their LED screen soundstage that allows them to shoot these ridiculously awesome looking. The technology behind this stuff that Jon Favreau has been spearheading, amazing. But that puts us at an hour and 5, so we got to wrap it up, I guess. Anything else we wanted to hit? I know.
Well, we were going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. They revealed his plans for the sequel, which sound amazing. But you should just go to punchdrunkcritics.com and check that out.
Yeah.
About that. You can see how incredible it sounds right there.
On that note, we'll go over to our link screen. So again, like Travis mentioned, you can catch that Justice League sequel information from Zack Snyder. That's not going to happen anymore. All the reviews, interviews, pictures, trailers, everything. www.punchdrunkcritics.com. On Twitter, the site is at PDC Movie. Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am at Punch Drunk John. My account is especially active only when Travis, tweets me or puts me in a tweet. I don't even know what it's called anymore. On Twitch, Travis is at cinematic_enforcer. I have rejuvenized my push to get on Twitch, so I will have something to add in there soon. Guys, just a reminder.
Was that come over and get my setup straight here?
I thought we got you working at one point.
No, that was a long time ago.
All right. Well, how about this? Once I find out that I am negative from COVID, I will come right on out and take a look at it.
I still want to do watch parties. So
yeah, no, I do too. I thought we actually had you set up. So when I get my test results back and I don't have COVID or herpes, I will come right on over. We are still looking for writers, folks. info@punchdrunkcritics.com. If you fancy yourself a writer,
we can talk about this stuff after the show. So it's good.
If you fancy yourself a writer, info@punchdrunkcritics.com. If you have any tips, questions, anything you want to tell us, please feel free to write us there. We will respond to you as soon as possible. We read every single email that comes through. Until next week, guys, we're the Punch Drunk Critics. I'm John.
I'm Travis.
And we are out of here.